Hi, Danny, Brooke. How are you? I hope you're doing well. We haven't managed to do the video call because since the very beginning I've been wanting to do it this way, in which I'm here in Candelaria and we actually have it so that I show you what has been going on and maybe all the future steps that we have. But anyway, let me begin with the somehow good news. I've been talking to the administration as well as the real estate people. A lot. I move myself a lot to try to find possible ways to resolve any of this. See if we could actually contact the architect of the project to see if there's any response on what is going on here. We actually have found out more things. First, that a lot of the interventions, at least that's what the real estate is telling us, is that they were made by the owner and the trustee man who used to be the one living here. So technically, it was not the architect who did it. That is a good and a bad thing. Now we will be trying to find out what is good and what is bad. But that's definitely going to be a different process to what we expected. On the good side, so by moving in with the administration, I actually got to the contract that you signed and the possible way how your escrituras or your deed is going to be. On both of these, the escritura and the predial is the city taxes. It is stated that it is 890 square meters, but in reality, by Topo Survey, it is more than 1,000 square meters. So I talked this with the administration because they state in the rules that according to the square meters, you can build a certain amount of square meters as well. They were saying that because it is all wall, that they don't have any issue in you reclaiming this land, which was somehow what I could be worried about, that the administration itself would be the first ones to tell us, you know what, it is not possible to actually do that because we, as homeowners association and administration of Candelaria, we want to see which land has been taken so that we claim it. But in this case, they told us, like, you know what, that has been walled. This house, if I'm not mistaken, with the at least from messages that Pesha used to have with the administrators here, dates from 2008, if I'm not mistaken. So it's not that much of an old house, but yet we have a lot of problems. So anyway, back to the point. The thing is, they say that you can talk to the notario, who is right now doing the contador, which if I'm not mistaken, is the notario Garcia. And you actually can talk about saying that with the Topo Survey, you have a different amount of square meters. And because it was actually part of what he charged is that he comes and does something called in Spanish deslinde, which is that they check all the geo-reference points to be sure of how much your property land is on square meters. And he's actually charging you for this. And since it doesn't match, you're going to ask him to make the correction. And that's going to take a while. Like, I don't know how much time. I think I've heard that he's actually pretty efficient in how much time it takes. But definitely, I think it would be important for him to actually send a topographer. And this is something that I at least am advising. He should not, that you ask him that he should not be charging for these changes because it was a mistake done by his office, not by your part or anyone else. And the first one who should have checked, because that's actually why you're hiring a legal entity like a notario to tell you all that it is related in legal terms about your property was him, no? So he has to come correct and actually say that your property is not 890, but 1,000 and something square meters. But what is important is that we cannot start real demolition until that has been done. And why is that? Because all the walls and the property, it doesn't matter the surveys that we have done, but at least the perimeters have to be as they have been so that he can indeed come with the topographer, check, and don't do and be sure that what we're stating, that it is more than 890 square meters, is actually true. Once he has done this, and your escrituras or your new project of escrituras is there, and that it has been licensed and registered in the municipality, then we can proceed to do the little things that we could actually start doing. Because we anyway will need to be getting the permit, and that one we cannot get until we actually have these escrituras. We do have a plan of what we can do, and I've been talking to Nayeli about this, the landscape designer, is that indeed now we were gonna do it differently, where we were gonna tag both at the same time, but maybe indeed now she can actually start coming here and salvaging many of the plants and species that we have. And I was suggesting that also, since we cannot right away demolish with the machine as we wanted, we could start dismounting all the windows, all the furniture, kind of like this, and salvage it so that it's on a proper, safe place, and be ready for whenever we actually have all the escritura, the permit, and everything, so that we can proceed. Now, the ugly part, and that's the part that I've been wanting to discuss, is that so they say that this house was remodeled in ways that was not done with any architect, or at least that's what they're claiming. Unfortunately, I think Pesha and her husband are no longer in the best terms in or faculties with their mind. We can check. I could actually go pay a visit if you allow me. I don't know them that well. I know them, but not that personally. I've eaten with my family, has eaten with them a long time ago, like a couple of times. So I can as well ask them, or check if the handyman indeed can tell us if he actually did something. Now, I think it's also important that you talk with the real estate to be clear on what happened, because, and this is something that should have been done before by them, especially when there was an intervention such as this. Because, so originally the house was 390 square meters. That's actually what's on your, in your property tax. And with because in the property tax, it is marked two things: the size of the site, and the size of the construction, the amount of construction. So it is stated 390 square meters and 890 square meters of property. When you bought it for 500 and now I forgot how many, but you bought it for a larger property. And of course, you paid for that amount of square meters. And I think even if we are going to demolish and do a renovation, it should not be like that. Because what we have been discussing now with the laboratory, the engineers, now it has been a work of hiring several people who are experts in structural assessment. It was supposed to be a simple thing where we were gonna just do a couple of explorations, like especially in places that we wanted to explore what is going on, but it ended up being more complex, and I think the process of demolition is not going to be that simple. Now let me explain with what we actually have been discussing. So the first part, let me change the camera if possible. If not, I'm gonna be cutting right now, or no, I'll just show it this way. So this was the first exploration that we did. So what we basically had is we made a hole in the slab, and the first thing that caught us by surprise is that this slab, as you can see, and as in photos that I have sent, has no rebar. And underground, they didn't do something called a platform. You need to do a platform, which is whenever you don't have a stable soil, that platform creates the first base for the foundation. And if you cannot do it for whatever reason, you have to, no matter what, anyway, bring at least some limestone sand or dust or calcium, or you need to prepare it in a way so that it hardens and it can actually become the first layer that will be holding all the loads. Unfortunately, when you don't do that and you don't add rebar, I mean, you anyway needed to add some sort of rebar. What happened here is that this part has been sinking, and it has been critical because, so now you will see the bigger hole, and I'll talk about this. We found actually that there's cracks all the way from all the corners, like surrounding this space, before we did anything, of course. And even one part that the structural engineers are worried is that they see that, yes, because there's paint here, you don't necessarily see the cracks, but you can somehow notice, and especially on this side, that the wall is somehow becoming separated. That is actually very bad. I mean, it's not the very feared 45-degree crack in this part, but our second stage part that we wanted to do, so the reason why we did this survey was so that we knew structurally what we needed to reinforce in order to keep this area, no, like to do the correct demolitions on the sides without putting all the structure at risk. The second part that is the one that does have a 45-degree crack, and actually this was just awful. Let me show, let's see if it's somehow seen. This wall here, if you follow my line, my finger all of a sudden goes up like that. That is the 45-degree crack that follows to the other side. We're guessing that somehow here there's maybe some sort of column. But if you also notice there underground, it is all separated. And unfortunately here, not only we don't have rebar, but we don't have even limestone sand or some proper soil. We just have actually black soil, no? Black soil is good for harvesting, for gardening, or doing things like that, but it's not suitable for construction. If you build on top, you have to be cautious of what type of foundation, and usually it implies very deep foundation, kind of like what they do in the buildings, the so-called pilotis, and that is something that goes very deep so that all the heavy loads are passed into the sides. Once we found these two and we saw that it was shady, we decided to do the other exploration that was in this other room. Because here as well, we can already see that there's cracks in this part of the floor. Maybe not visible in the video, I hope. But anyway, you can somehow see how they all go. Here we had a major crack, and when you see cracks on the tiles, that's pretty bad because it means the structure itself is not holding. And this, unfortunately, like this hole as well, this part of the foundation, is inexistent. And yes, we're definitely going to be demolishing this part, but as I am explaining, it's not a simple thing, no? It's not something that was supposed to be that way, because it requires more reinforcement. And actually, for example, in areas where we thought that the only thing we needed to do is to remove the saltillo tile, now we actually need to demolish the slab, and from that demolition then redo the slab, so to actually make some proper foundation. The test that we started doing now in many of the places is very simple. Maybe a bit weird and stupid, but it does give us a lot of information. It's with a stick. We start hitting the floor. I hope it is heard because I'm wearing my earphone. I might remove it. Let me better remove it so that the noise cancellation doesn't enter here. And hopefully it's there. Okay, let's keep on. So the test is very simple, no? We cannot do it in the place of where the cinema room is, because there it has carpets or a rug, so we cannot hear properly. But what we started doing is this, no? You hit the ground, and when you hear that it is stable, you don't do anything, no? And we started doing this, which is very simple, until we actually heard a different sound. If you notice here, we actually have in this part, which is the usual way of doing it, structurally we have a connection. This is called liaison. It's a liaison made out of like a beam. And if you pay attention to the sound, it's very like dull. Why? Because since there's a structure there, you cannot hear it. The sound doesn't go anywhere, no? But if you go there deeper, like to other parts, it does have a little sound. But again, this area, we kind of think that it is fine based on this very stupid test. But when we go to this room, I'm sorry about my expressions. I'm usually, let's call it my Latino drama, no? So we start listening. I'm not sure if you noticed. So that's the part that worries us. And I would like to say that it is only in this area, but for example, if we go to the kitchen, the garage, the studio, we do the same test and we don't find a good result. Now I'm in the kitchen and we'll do the same test. And that sound is definitely bad. Now, not only that sound, if we notice here, the cracks, we can definitely right away tell that there's no foundation. And we're basically thinking that it could be because of the renovations. But and again, that's both of your decision on what you're gonna do following this. On whatever, if you want to actually talk with your real estate people or something, which I have to say they have been very nice. They have been very helpful in trying to contact the architect and everyone who had been involved. So yeah, I want to show the last part, which I never expected to be like this, because we see a kind of concrete slab, but let me start with the edge. I'm not sure if you can hear the echo from my phone recording. And unfortunately, that noise is also seen in the cracks. That separation of the slab is definitely not good. Now, on the good part of all of this, this is the studio, by the way, is that we definitely can save some part of the structure, like the walls. But right now, for what we have seen, we cannot risk it. And we think we have to demolish all the foundations, like all the slab. I'm sorry. There are certain foundations, but not enough. And on the stage that it is, a lot of the engineers actually say that it is a very risky thing to just enter and not solve the problems. That indeed they believe that there's many pipes that are broken, that most likely the gas pipe that we had smelled, it is also part of this problem. And yeah, let's just hear this last part. The weirdest thing, no? It seems very funny that the thing to check it out is a broomstick, no? But it's sound, no? And what we have is that whenever you have a hollow area, it makes that echo, like a lot of echo. And when you have something where the slabs or whatever is passing its load, you hear this dull noise that it's not echoed. So based on that, one of the recommendations that we'll have is, yes, definitely we like the new areas, most of them, no, all the new areas that were done in an addition to the original house, which we're gonna try to do and again, if you also want, we are going to try to find out with the architect which parts he really did. And it's not gonna be that difficult to see if he lied or no, because if we actually see the other, because we started doing other tests, and even though we're not extremely happy about the amount of structure that we find, like rebar, in this area, like the one next to the kitchen, here in this one, we actually could find a little bit of rebar, like barely enough. Some sort of better soil, maybe not enough. But yeah, it is very noticeable once you start removing the slabs, which parts definitely were not done in the correct way. So, kind of like, okay, the steps to go is, first, we have to fix the deed, the escrituras, so that you don't have 890, but the proper amount of square meters that we have in the property. For that, you need to ask the notario who made the escritura or who is working on it, that he comes, he does this correction, and that he actually takes responsibility on this. I actually, if you allow me, I can talk a little bit with Sharon to see if we can get the contact of some closer people from there, and so that these things move faster. Or if you can do it, which is also the one thing that I advise, because sometimes they might think, why this guy is coming here and telling us what to do when he's not even the owner. But anyway, whatever and however I can help, I'm gladly gonna be doing all of this. Anyway, it's part of what I need so that I can then proceed. Once we have the proper escritura, and during this process we can start actually removing or demounting the garden, which is a thing that now we can do. The second part, and that also could be a process that we do now, we start dismounting all the doors, all the windows, all the furniture, and that part doesn't require us to even move them, because we don't want to move anything out of the property if it is needed until we actually know what's gonna be happening. And then the third part is gonna be, and this time I generally don't like to do it this way, because it's very hard to give you a close budget on this. But what we will have to be doing is breaking all the slabs, at least do a little sample on it, check the state, check how the ground is going to be for each part, for each slab that we break. We make a soil mechanic. We cannot do it all at once, because it doesn't mean that it's the same type of soil underneath. And that's why I say that it can be very complex, because we will have to do something bigger than this. We will need to do at least 3x3 tiles, which is approximately 3 foot by 3 foot survey on each one of the slabs. From there, remove the dirt, check the capacities of the dirt, and then see if it actually passes structurally. I can already, because that was our key since the very beginning, and I can already tell you that this area, the one with the vault, it's not gonna be a safe thing to keep because we don't have the proper foundation, and right now we don't really know how the walls are going to be. So it's gonna be very, very, very difficult. It's gonna require a lot of money to actually think, we're gonna save it. We are definitely gonna be trying, and that I can already tell you. If you tell us, yes, we want to keep it, okay, we're gonna be trying to do it until certain point that we don't see it having to be reinforced for the demolition, because anyway, we're gonna have to be reinforcing it once we start doing the whole remodelation. And the reason for that being is that here is the proof that all of this was done all this area was done after the original construction. Why? Because at first we thought that we were gonna find this as part of the foundation, and that this was going to be isolated foundation or some sort of like chain foundation. But as you can see, it's actually a step for something that we had here before. Unfortunately, here we can see that they were doing the concrete mix, and that concrete mix was left there. They never did a proper ground preparation where they put the limestone, and lime sand, and they have to not do it by hand but with the machine, compact it, and once it is compacted into certain level, which is also a calculation that has to be done, then you actually do all the construction. So yes, all this area will definitely be having to be demolished, because, well, if we see how the ground is built, on top we don't want to even imagine. We already think of it as the worst thing. But the areas that were going to be thought as part of the existing project, like for example, well, and as I said, just to be clear, this one, yes, we're gonna be trying to save it, but I don't think that we're gonna be managing, and I don't want to be pessimistic, but structure is key, and at least from my side and my contractors, they're not gonna be risking your safety, just so that we have something that might be working for a little bit. We have to give you and it sounds funny, but we have to give you 100-year warranty, which is usually what all the materials should give, and the constructions at least should last for 100 years. At least any concrete rebar construction on current days, that's what they state, 100 years. They can last longer, of course, but that's how much the provider's warranty that has to be lasting, if done correctly. In this case, this one is definitely an area that it's not going to be able to stay, unless we actually see that it is possible without spending too much money. If we see right away that there's movement, that things are going to be shaken, we're going to be calling you, and we're going to be asking you if you agree on the process, and then we demolish. The next part is, okay, we're gonna be doing this sample, as I told you, 3 by 3 feet, where we dig, we check that there's a structure in the slabs, and once we find that there's a structure, we check how the state of the soil is, and see if it is suitable for the construction or if it's gonna be needing a reinforcement. If it needs the reinforcement, the soil itself, we right away remove all the slab and start doing the compactation of the soil, and do it in the way that structurally it had to be done originally. So it's not entirely a tragedy, but I can already say that the budget that I said or the approximate price that we're gonna be spending, it's not gonna be. And I have to be very honest about this. I don't like saying bad news on this side, and really, it's something that I wish I didn't have to say. This feels actually like, well, it is very bad news, at least for me. it didn't have to be this way. That's why if also in other things, if you need to get more information in order to maybe ask the real estate or prepare a lawsuit for asking for some sort of compensation from the seller, and in the end they will be the ones. Unfortunately, they are not in the best mental faculties, but I'm sure legally here there's someone who has to be their representative, and if not them, they will have to counter sue the architect or whoever was responsible of this. And I think, at least this is also my recommendation, which I think they would gladly participate on it as they have been very helpful. The real estate agency should also take part of this or on this, because definitely you didn't buy a property that was 500 and something square meters. And even if you were going to demolish it, what if not? What if you were planning to live on it? And that's the part that we feel a bit angry. Like my team, my engineers, and everyone who has been participating right now in the structural assessment, like makes us feel disappointed on a lot of people who don't. First of all, because it speaks very bad for our country, even if it's not a general thing. But second of all, like professionally, we know that there's a bad stigma in a lot of the people who are in the construction. But I can assure you that from my side and my team, we're very responsible to what we do. We definitely would never do something that will take the sleep and peace in our lives. I do this as well because I like it. Yes, the money is a compensatory part of it, but I never thought I'm gonna become an architect to become crazy rich or things like that. And I say this because, and that's one of the reasons why I feel sad to tell this news. It's not a simple thing, no? It's definitely not a. It's not the best news. It's not something that I wish I was telling you. If you remember, the first thing that I told you that is that I don't take remodelations if they don't let me do right away the engineering, like the piping, the electricity, and the plumbing, like all of this, because I know that a lot of times things are done in crazy ways. This is even worse on my case scenario. At least it's a new structure, and there's easier ways to fix the mistakes. But I can tell you already, and that's something that I need to be very honest with both of you. I don't think we're gonna be on the 300,000 US for what we're gonna be doing, and it doesn't mean the demolition, no, because the demolition is not gonna be a thing that it is like crazy expensive, but the fixing of a structure, and especially when it comes to foundation, it's a very high cost. In a house, a general construction, foundation usually is 40 to 50% of the budget before the finishes, and just by saying this number, it means that it's basically the part that takes the most. So if we think on that, and at that part we're gonna have to save it and to intervene to properly give you something that you can indeed call home. Well, we cannot. I cannot tell you that it's gonna be a cheap thing. If you want as well, Brock, I can come here with your parents. I can give them a tour and they can see it with their own eyes. Or if you plan to come as well, we can definitely be talking about what we have here and how all of this is, and so that they. I mean, that's why I'm also doing a video, no, so that you see it. At least not this time, not in just in a photograph, and also not just with my text, but that you see a video where I actually explain what is going on and show what is here. I also, and there's two paths, no? Because already for what we're gonna do, there's also and that is not my recommendation, but because we're also doing, or it's gonna be expensive, we could just as well demolish and start from zero, not having any mistakes, which I assure you there will be none. And if it happens that we make any mistake, we give warranties. You know where my studio is, first of all, where my house is, and you know also other of my clients, and my contractor right now who is working as well with Sharon, Marcia, and some other people around town. Well, Sharon also has been to her house, and I've been to Ricardo's house. At least well, I actually know personally all the contractors that I work with, and I know where they live, I know their families, I know if there's something wrong, I know where to look for them. And I also know that there are people who are fighting to get a reputation, and they will never do something stupid for 5 pesos. It's a saying, no? Like, they will not risk their name just for a little amount of money, or even if it's not little, but some amount of money, because they know that that can kill a business. And we are people who are striving right now to make a business. One that is reputable, honorable, and that it's actually a thing that makes us proud, all of us. And I say that because speed-wise speaking, yes, definitely that's gonna be the fastest. A complete teardown where we actually start from zero, and from zero we design the house that you envision and want, and it can be how you want it, or we can even now make it as how it should be, according to your necessities or whatever. Or the other one that definitely, again, and I'm stating and I'm being very factual about these things, where we have two options, two paths. The complete demolition, or the other one, which is gonna be still well, there's a third, and I'm gonna talk about it. A second one where we do the remodelation, similar to the project that we have designed together in this vision of what we have, that can be Villa Mango or Casa Mango, and with this idea, the only thing that will slow us down is how we're gonna be attacking the remodelation, because we will have to make sure that the structures, at least the older structure, is suitable for actual living, and that it's not gonna be compromising your safety at any point or by whatever chance or reason. Like, yes, we definitely want it to be well, safe, no? Like structurally correct, and design-wise speaking, beautiful. The third path, we anyway need to demolish the additions, and that has to be done yes or yes, because they're not structurally stable. And once we have done this demolition, we just restore, kind of like we anyway need to do the same removing of all the slabs, or checking all the slabs with this 3x3 sample. And with the sample, we check the earth and the soil, and once it is suitable, we do a new slab and we do a new proper foundation, and we kind of just fix. The other part, we maybe do a little renovation, but we don't go as deep. I mean, anyway, a lot of that's the part that is hard, and or that throws us to option 1 or 2 as the best option, because in the third option, where we basically try to save most of the things that we have, we anyway have to demolish a lot of the things that we are encountering. And in this demolition, like the third option, how we will be doing is that, again, we check through all the walls, we check through all the columns. We actually have to make a huge sample of around, that one I'm not sure in inches how much it is, but it is like 15 centimeters, no? So 15 centimeters all through the middle of the walls to check how the columns are, to check if there's the proper wall. Because one of the things that the engineers from the structural assessment told us is that one of the reasons why the house actually looks somehow fine, and they said fine, not entirely okay, but somehow fine, is that it's with thick walls. And that part, they say that, well, it hides a lot of the mistakes. So we don't know how things are inside, but we know that that part is saving the house from actually showing more of the problems that could be or hide them. But because of that, the way it is done is like by doing samples of all the walls, removing all the slabs, and then fixing them. No, so these are our three paths. That starting from zero, like full demolition, and from this get the project that we want. Number two, do the project that we already did, knowing or being conscious that the budget is going to be also higher, and that the time that it is going to take us is going to be slower because we cannot proceed as fast as how we wanted, where we just enter with the bulldozer and bring it all, I mean, the parts that have to be coming down, we just bring it down and make it quick and fast. Actually, we already discussed with the contractor, or like on the first visits, he was very sure that the demolition like that with the bulldozer, it could take him only like 2 or 3 weeks with the machine. And the most complex things would be to get out all of the debris, and that with the full removal of the debris could be like 1 month and a half. That I fear that process of demolition with the slabs and all that I just on option number 2 could extend to maybe 3 or 4 months, because again we need to do a soil mechanic check, take it, wait for the laboratory, and based on the laboratory recommendations we proceed and do the fixing. And the third option, where as well we don't do any of the design project, we kind of try to save the house as how it is, but we anyway fix the structural problems that it has, which would anyway require the removal of the slabs. Check how already this one, the only thing that we're waiting is to see the result of how the soil is here. But I think this one, because of having a rebar, it's the one that could be saved. It's the one next to the kitchen, but that's the only one, no? And as we can see, it's not a very quick process, because we have to do the hole, wait for the laboratory to come. They take the sample, they do the test. Once they have all the tests, they give us the results and recommendations. Once we have the recommendations, we generate the budget, we send it to you, you approve, and we proceed doing that. That's why I'm saying that process can be a longer process and one that takes more. I personally would go for either 2 or 1, 2 being the original plan, just being conscious that yes, it's gonna be more expensive, and yes, it's gonna be taking more time. Unfortunately, already it has done, but and that's one thing that I would never do, like start demolishing without doing this test, because I don't give you the option to decide, and I think that's very unethical if I was to do it, because if I started demolition without having done all the tests, then you will not have the chance to decide what to do the best, no? Like these 3 scenarios. Just I will tell you, oh, you know what? Now we need to start demolishing and doing and checking, and it becomes a vicious circle that I know that some architects do here in town. They just start doing things and don't ask. In this case, it's kind of like the correct process is that I inform you, that you are notified where we are, that we decide together what is the best options. but that we also know what are the possible outcomes and see from beforehand possible solutions for whatever we have, no? In this case, and because anyway, this was going to be, we had to check structurally if this area was going to be able to withhold a proper demolition. That's why we had this done in a bigger way. This is also a part that, again, now we're only waiting for lab results. But I for what I can see, it's definitely not going to be a thing that I would recommend saving. And again, the way we are going to proceed, if you tell me, you know what, Gio, we want option number 2. We want to keep on with the project as how we say it, where 60% of the house, now it will be more, it's kind of like demolished, and the other one is being saved. Knowing or being aware that, yes, there could be areas that we had in plan that we're going to stay. Now we know that for sure they can or cannot stay based on what we find out once we start the demolition. So yeah, that's kind of like the one possibility that we have. In all 3 variants, we need to start with a notary, fixing your escrituras or your deed, changing the 890 to 1,000 and something, but that the legal representative, or in this case the Licenciado Garcia, if I'm not mistaken, he comes, checks with the topographer as well, and that's something that he has to do to fix a mistake that was done by his office, where he comes, checks out all the points, and tells you, you know what, indeed, this property is not 890, this property is 1,000 something, let me change it, I will do the proper fixing, and from there, once we have the everything notified in the municipality, we proceed to the demolition, rather option 1, 2, or 3. Anyway, I wanted to make a short video, but I guess that's why the meeting was going to be similar time. And now being a video, I'm gonna be transcribing all that I have been saying so that you can see it. And with this, that we take decisions all together. I also, again, thank you for your trust in me and my team and all the work that we do. We definitely will be working to do the best possible things, and knowing now some of the results without having already the lab results yet, I think it's now for us easier to somehow give you paths on how we're going to proceed and what we can do. Anyway, I hope you're doing good. I'm sorry if these news are hitting you or not suiting you that well. But on the bright side, I can tell you that, again, me, my team, and everyone surrounding my professional work practice, we're going to be doing the best we can to give you the best results. And whatever the path you want to be sure that you're going to have an investment that's going to be, even if we right now think, we just put some money into this property. First of all, 2 things. I'm also in knowledge that value of a lot of things have risen. So always San Miguel, at least if things keep on like how they are, the properties are going to be keeping value, if not rising, no? And Candelaria it's a good spot. So whatever we proceed and think, be sure that it's going to be for the best. And I also, as I told when I met you, I hope that this doesn't discourage you, but rather makes you feel that you're accompanied and that we will be here for all of you, so that you can, if you do decide to move here, which again, I will be super happy. I love having newer people and welcoming to this our city, coming and having and making it a better place. So I again thank you for the trust. I'm sorry that we also haven't managed to make this Zoom call. That's why I decided to make this video. Sorry to make it as well this long, but I think it was important for you to see it. And since you cannot be here, the best way was going to be doing it in the site. So Brock, Danny, I hope you're both doing well. And on the other side, I'm sorry about the news here, but from present to words, I assure you that the news are they have to be only good. Okay, have a good day.